Never have I ever failed an assignment. I've actually had an emotional breakdown. I just remember breaking down and crying my eyes out, and yeah, I had an emotional breakdown in front of my CPF. Never have I ever cried because of my mentor. Never have I ever had a crush on a lecturer or a mentor. Well, damn. Never have I ever broken the rules on placement or in uni. Well, okay, so hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Nadine and I am a registered midwife here working in the UK. I've been registered for about 2 years now, and I've been working as a qualified midwife for about a year or so now. So on my channel I create midwifery related content. I give advice and I share my experience as I navigate the world of midwifery, and I also create other healthcare related videos. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and join my YouTube family if you're not subscribed already. So in today's video I decided to do a never have I ever student midwife edition. So I'm going down memory lane, I'm going back to when I was a student. So I'm going to be telling you guys how it was for me, exposing myself, giving you guys the real tea, and answering this question as open as I can, and giving you guys all the info from when I was a student midwife. So this should be fun, this should be interesting. If you like the sound of that, be sure to stick around and watch the video till the end. So let's get started with the first question. So like I said before, I didn't make up these questions. These questions were from other students and other healthcare professionals that are on YouTube, and also I got them on Google. So there are some interesting questions here, and they're very sneaky. So let's start with never have I ever question 1. So the first one is, never have I ever forgotten how to take a manual blood pressure as a student. So obviously when they start teaching you how to take a manual blood pressure and then you go out on placement, there's some things you kind of forget. You're doing it for the first time. So yes, I have as a student forgotten how to take a manual blood pressure when I was out on placement for the first time, but then after I do it multiple times, it just comes naturally to me and I kind of just know what to do. But it's natural to kind of forget what you're taught in uni, and when you're actually doing it in practice you kind of forget or do mistakes, and so that's just natural, that's just normal. So yes, I have forgotten how to take a manual blood pressure once I got into placement as a first year student, and I was just basically taught how to do it. They showed me how to do it, and it wasn't that big of a deal. You are kind of supervised and you're taught on placement as well as in uni. So next question, never have I ever failed an assignment. This one right here. Okay, I have failed an assignment before. I have failed an assignment in my, what year was it? In my second year, I have failed like a big assignment and I had to resit it and do it again. And that was super stressful, super embarrassing. And yeah, the pressure was like high and I thought I wasn't gonna pass it, and it was so stressful. But yes, if you are a student and you have never failed an assignment, kudos to you guys. But yeah, I have failed an assignment and there's no shame in that. You fail, you pick yourself up and you try again. But yeah, you shouldn't feel like a failure. You shouldn't feel like you're the only one in the world. I failed it. I had good mentors that went through the assignment with me and told me what I should do better next time and all of that good stuff. So yes, this question is yes, I have failed an assignment before as a student midwife. So the next question is, never have I ever received a stethoscope as a present. I have. So the stethoscope that I currently use at the moment is a present from my boyfriend. So he got it from me and he got my name engraved on the stethoscope. So yes, I have received a stethoscope as a gift from my boyfriend. He got it from me when I was, I think, in 3rd year. So yes, I can't really use it now that I'm qualified, and it's been literally the lifesaver. I don't like using the hospital ones, they're not that great. So yeah, he got me a stethoscope as a present. So the next question is, never have I ever gone into placement after a night out. I think I did this a couple of times. Yeah, I did this a couple of times. So I try to see my friends as often as I can. I get really bad FOMO. So FOMO is the fear of missing out. So I get that quite a lot. So when my friends have like a birthday or a gathering, I tend to go like on the events or the motives, and then I know I have placement the next day or, you know, the following night, and I will literally go on placement after a night out. So yeah, this I've definitely done. Never have I ever cried because of my mentor. I've never done this. No mentor has ever made me cry or felt that I was less than or not deserving of being a midwife. So I'm lucky in that aspect, but I know a lot of my friends, a lot of my colleagues that have cried or have been down or put down by mentors. But for me personally, in my experience as a student midwife, I have never experienced a mentor that has made me cry. So that is a no from me. Never have I ever needed a drink after a shift. Well, I have gone out after a shift. Say for example, if my shift ended at 8:30 p.m. and I met my friends after work and they were already out, so I think that classifies as a drink, because obviously once I get there, they may be at a bar or they're out clubbing and I've met them after my placement shift. So yeah, I've definitely done that. I've definitely had a drink or needed a drink after my shift if it was like crazy busy. I know I've done that before. So the next question is, never have I ever missed out on placement. Well, never have I ever missed out on placement. I have called in sick before on placement because I was generally not feeling well, but missed out on placement because I'm doing other things. I have called in because I had family like events or family occasions and I couldn't make the placement, so I think that classifies as missed out on placement. I'm not sure, correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section below, but yeah, I have missed out on placement a few times, whether I'm ill or I am going to an event with my family, or there's a family gathering or my best friend's birthday or things like that. So yes, I have definitely done that. So the next question is, never have I ever cried because I don't think I'm good enough as a student. I have never cried on placement because I don't think I'm a good enough student. Yeah, I've never cried because I felt I wasn't good enough. I had a good team around me. I had the best mentors. I was in a very good hospital where they trained us, where they supported us, where they felt like they needed to teach us and make sure that we were good midwives. So I never had that feeling where I wasn't good enough and I cried about it. So no, that is a no for that question. So the next one is, never have I ever had a crush on a lecturer or a mentor. Well, damn. No, I've never had a crush on a mentor or a lecturer because they're all women. All my lecturers were all women. I had no male mentors, I had no male lecturers, so no, I've never had a crush on a mentor or a lecturer while I was a student midwife. So the next question is, never have I ever thought about dropping out. Okay, so I never thought about dropping out. I thought I was going to get kicked out because of, you know, the time where I failed my assignment, but I never ever thought about dropping out because midwifery was my dream and I wanted to succeed at it and I wanted to be the best midwife that I could be. So throughout the 3 years of studying and trying to become a midwife, I never ever had the thoughts or the determination of wanting to drop out. I wanted to become the best midwife that I could, and yeah, never ever had the thought of dropping out. I was paying 9 grand a year. Why would I drop out after paying 9 grand a year? I was going to stick by it, I was going to pass, and I was going to become a midwife. So dropping out was not an option at all. Never have I ever broken the rules on placement or in uni. Well, okay, so I have never broken a rule in the sense that it was something against like the guidelines or the policies of being a student. Does uniform count? Maybe not wearing the correct uniform, and I always had like crazy hairstyles. They always looked at me like, why are you here with your crazy hairstyles? I always had my nails done, and when I couldn't get my nails cut or taken off, I would literally go to placement with my nails done. So that's maybe a rule, I'm not sure. But yeah, I can't pinpoint like a rule that I've broken. I don't think I've broken like a rule. I was actually a very good student. Surprisingly, I was actually very good student. The only rule break that I would remember is maybe uniform. Maybe I forgot my uniform, or wasn't wearing the right uniform, or I had my nails done and I didn't have them removed in time, and I was just doing crazy hairstyles. I had my hair braided and it was like long and I had to wrap it up. I had different colors in my hair and things like that. But yeah, I don't think I've actually broken like a rule in terms of placement rules or guidelines or policies. Next question. Never have I ever taken a test hungover. Now, whoever does this, I don't know how you do it. Because me, hungover, I literally can't focus, I can't concentrate, and there's nothing going in. So taking a test hungover is a recipe for disaster. So whoever can do this, kudos to you. But me, I have never ever taken a test hungover, because the night before I'll be revising, 2 days before I'll be revising, I wouldn't be going out, I wouldn't be doing any madness, I wouldn't be drinking. So yeah, I've never taken a test hungover ever while I was at uni. So next question is, never have I ever gone into uni with a hangover. I have, but please let me explain. Please let me explain. So I have gone into uni with a hangover if, like I said before, my friends have an event, or I'm at a family wedding or family gathering, and obviously I don't want to call in sick on placement. I don't want to lose my hours. Obviously, guys, never ever do it, because you need to be in the right frame of mind. So looking back at it now, it wasn't smart. It wasn't a smart thing to do. But I have gone into uni and into placement hungover one time, but it wasn't bad. I wasn't like completely destroyed. I wasn't completely like out of it. I just had like a slight headache and I was really tired. But yeah, to uni, yes I have, and I really struggled in that lecture or in that lesson. I couldn't focus, I kept falling asleep. So I've done it like once or twice, but don't do as I do, guys. I wouldn't recommend it, because it's not worth it, and you guys should learn from my mistakes. So the next one is, never have I ever messed up or got something wrong while on placement. Yes, I have. Those that say they've never had any mistakes or got anything wrong or ever messed up, then kudos to you. You guys are literally legends. But for me, I have messed up on placement. I have got things wrong on placement. Let me give you an example of one thing that I got wrong. So I was with my mentor, and she was looking after a labouring woman, and she was doing a VE, and then she did the VE first, and she was like, you do the VE and tell me what you got. So she got the VE and she kept the centimeters in her mind, and then she was like, you do it and tell me what you find out. So I did the VE and I was like, I have no idea what I'm feeling. I just don't know. I don't know. So it was like during first year, early second year, when you kind of, you know, learning how to do VEs and learning how to measure. So I did the VE, measured, and just assumed or kind of guessed what it was. So I was like to her, yeah, she's 4 centimeters dilated, and the midwife was like, no, she's 6 centimeters dilated. So yeah, that's a mess up. That's something that I got wrong on placement. Yeah, and there's been other multiple times. If I sat here and told you all the things that I messed up or got wrong, I will be here for days, because it's all about the process of learning. It's how we learn, it's how we gain our experience. You do things wrong, or you do things right. It's all about how you learn, how you take the feedback, and how you learn from your experience. So yeah, I got other few things wrong, and I made other few mistakes on placement, but that is just one example that I remember from the top of my head. So the next question is, never have I ever been scared of a mentor or other colleagues on placements. Child. Okay, let's start with mentor. I've never been afraid of a mentor. if I remember correctly. Yeah, I've never been afraid of a mentor because I saw them as a midwife. They're supposed to be caring people. If they had attitude or if they talked to me inappropriately, I was just like, you know what, let me just do me and act professional. I've never been like scared of a mentor. I've been afraid or scared of a colleague, which is consultants. There's some consultants out there that are really terrifying because they know it all. They don't really talk to the students, they walk past you, and they're very, very scary because they know everything. They have a lot of knowledge. Obviously they don't know everything, you know, humans are humans, but in my mind as a student midwife, I was always terrified of consultants. I don't know what it is, I don't know why I was scared of consultants, but I was always scared of consultants. But now they're okay, they're all right people. Okay, next question is, never have I ever pulled an all-nighter. I have indeed. So when I left my assignments late, which I did most of the time as I was a student, I would always do my assignments last minute. And if you see my previous videos, I explain all that and I tell you not to do it, and I say make sure you plan your time wisely. But as a student midwife, I don't know what it was, but I always kept doing my assignments last minute. So there will be times where my assignment is due and I will literally do an all-nighter. I'll stay in the library. I had a library that was literally 24 hours and I will stay in the library till like 7 a.m. in the morning, and it was due at 9 a.m. in the morning. So yes, I have definitely pulled an all-nighter as a student. Never have I ever fallen asleep in class. I've closed my eyes for like a hot second, but I've never like zoned out and fallen asleep because that's just embarrassing. That's just embarrassing. I don't think I tried. Every time that I went into work tired, because obviously as a student midwife I also had a job. I was working as a senior healthcare assistant while studying because I needed to get my money up, but you know, there'll be times where I would go from work and literally go straight to uni and I'll be so tired, but I managed to stay awake. I don't remember ever falling asleep. I would maybe close my eyes for like a couple seconds for just like a rest, whatever you call that, but I will never ever like fall asleep because that's just rude. That's just yeah, you're gonna be called out. The lecturer's gonna be like, Nadine, you're sleeping, and then everyone's just going to be looking at you sideways. Yeah, so I've never actually fallen asleep. I may have closed my eyes from time to time for a few seconds, but never actually like fallen asleep in a lecture. Okay, so the next question is, never have I ever been told off by a lecturer. I have once, and this was because we had a stimulation session and I came in. So every time we have a stimulation session, let me just give you guys some background. Every time we have a stimulation session in university, we always have to wear our uniform. So if anyone comes in wearing their normal clothes as they do on a normal like study session or a uni day, then they get in trouble. So this was the day where I completely forgot about the simulation center. I hadn't looked at my timetable and I came in wearing basically my clothes, and the lecturer was like, oh, how can you not come with your uniform? Basically she had to go at me, and then she gave me some like scrubs or leftover uniform and I had to basically wear that, and it was just so embarrassing. So yeah, I have been told off before by a lecturer, if that classifies as being told off. Anyways, so next question is, never have I ever felt overwhelmed. Yes, I have felt overwhelmed, and this was in my third year, the beginning of my third year when I was about to finish. I had placements, I had deliveries to catch, I had everything to do before I finished. Literally the time was flying by and I was there thinking, am I actually going to achieve all of these things by the time I finish my uni? I had assignments, I had exams, I had placement, and it all just became overwhelming and I was feeling a lot of pressure. So yes, I have felt overwhelmed as a student midwife before, and it's a natural thing for everyone to go through. I feel like, sorry, there's hair in my mouth, but yeah, I feel like yeah, I think maybe most students feel overwhelmed from time to time as a student, and it's just natural to feel overwhelmed. There's a lot that you need to take in, there's a lot that you need to learn, and yeah, and it can be quite stressful and overwhelming. So next question is, never have I ever lied on my personal statement. I've never lied on my personal statement. Let's just start there. The only reason why I'm so like excited or so happy that I've never lied on my personal statement is because I went out of my way to achieve everything that I needed to achieve in order for me to put everything or all the experiences that I've gained in my personal experience to become a midwife. So if you watch my previous videos, I talk about my journey and how I became a midwife. I got a lot of experience when I was in secondary school and when I was in college. I went out of my way to go and work as a healthcare assistant or go into the maternity unit and gain experience. So everything I wrote in my personal statement was true because I literally worked at it and I made sure that I gained everything that I needed to gain, and I put it all in my personal statement. So I've never ever had to lie in my personal statement ever, because yeah, I knew that midwifery was for me and that I wanted to be a midwife. So basically, so the next question is, never have I ever fainted or vomited on placement. So I've never fainted because I have a very high tolerance to stuff, and I haven't vomited, but I almost vomited. I was looking after a client and she was vomiting, but what she was vomiting was everything. It wasn't, she was vomiting fluids mixed with bits in it, and literally I was gagging. I was like, ooh, ooh. But obviously I had to style it out and make it professional, make sure that I wasn't, you know, showing her that I was about to vomit. But yeah, I've never actually vomited from that experience, but I was like, oh, yeah, basically, yeah, it was just the smell, and it was the fact that there was like lumps and pieces in her vomit. Normally the women that I have seen, they literally vomit like clear fluids with nothing in them, but this woman literally everything was coming out, and I was just like, ooh. But I've never actually vomited or fainted. So next question is, never have I ever had a fight or argument with someone on placement. Never. I've never actually had a fight or argument with someone on placement. I feel like I got on with everyone on placement. If that's the mentors, my colleagues, my peers from uni, I literally got on with everyone, and I made sure that I was professional, acted professional with everyone. So I never had any problems in terms of arguments or fights on placement or at uni. So yeah, I've never had a fight or argument with someone on placement. Next question is, never have I ever been top of my class. Oh, top of my class. I've never been top of my class. I know. I've never been top of my class, but I've had good grades. I think this was my first year and it was anatomy and physiology exam, and I was like the top 3 or the top 4 highest marks in my class. So I don't know if that counts, but I was top 3, top 4 if I remember correctly. Yeah, but I had one of the highest for that anatomy and physiology exam. Okay, next question is, never have I ever decided to be a midwife because I watched One Born Every Minute or Call the Midwife. I never wanted to be a midwife based on One Born Every Minute, but Call the Midwife made me feel more passionate about midwifery. I always knew I wanted to be a midwife before Call the Midwife, but watching Call the Midwife made me more passionate and more determined to be a midwife. But I already had that determination and that passion to be a midwife. But I would say Call the Midwife added to that determination and added to that passion that I already had. So next question is, never have I ever gone into lecture with zero prep. I have done this. So in my university we had like workbooks. So the lecturers will be like, go home, study they'll tell us the session that we're about to have the next day, and they'll tell us to go home, read around the subject and fill in the gaps in our workbooks. So there have been times, sadly to say, ashamed I am, that I would go into my lecturer or my lesson and I hadn't prepped and I hadn't read around the subject that we were about to do, and I hadn't filled in my workbook, and I would literally be filling it in that day, like in my lesson, and that's very, very shameful. So yes, I have gone into a lecture with zero prep, and I'm just very ashamed of that. But you know, it happens. Life gets too much. There's a lot going on. You're a student. I was working like part-time. I was, you know, living at home. There's a lot going on. But yeah, let me not make excuses, but yes, there was a lot of things going on. Anyways, next question is, never have I ever received inappropriate behavior from a patient. No, as a student midwife, I have never ever received inappropriate behavior from a patient. Maybe when I was working as a senior healthcare assistant in my old job while I was a student midwife, yes, I received inappropriate behavior because I was working in a residential home. So I was working with the elderly, I was looking after them, and some of them have like Alzheimer's and dementia, so there'll be like inappropriate behavior, but obviously they don't know what they're doing and things like that. But in the midwifery world, as a student midwife, I have never ever experienced like inappropriate behavior from like a patient, so no. Next question is, never have I ever fancied a patient or a family member. Nope. All the patients we have are women, or all the clients we have are women, so I've never ever fancied a patient or client. And for family members, nope. Never ever have I looked at a family member and thought, he's nice. Nah, never. It never happened. So the next question is, never have I ever lied about hearing something through a stethoscope on placement. I think I've done this before, like in first year when we were doing manual blood pressure, and then they were like, can you hear that? Can you hear that? Or they'll be asking me, so did you hear the doof doof sound or the cuff cuff sound, whatever your uni called it? And I would just be like, yeah, I heard it, and then I was just like, didn't hear anything. But yeah, I have lied about hearing something in the stethoscope. That was like early when I was in first year and trying to get my head around all the manual blood pressure business and how to do that correctly. But yeah, I have done that before, shame me. Next question is, never have I ever had an emotional breakdown. I've actually had an emotional breakdown, and this happened in my third year of uni when everything was getting on top of me and everything was so overwhelming, and I felt like I had literally no time to finish what I had to finish, and life was getting in the way of uni or of student life. And I literally remember this day like it was yesterday. I was called in to have a meeting with my CPF, and me and her were having a one-to-one, and then because she was so like caring and she was asking me questions about life, I literally had an emotional breakdown in front of her, and I just remember breaking down and crying my eyes out, and we would just be talking about everything that was overwhelming and everything that was going wrong at the time. So yes, I have had an emotional breakdown, but the support I had was amazing, and they wanted me to succeed and they wanted me to do better and to do well. So I thank my uni for that, I thank my placement for that, because without them like kind of pushing me and nudging me, I wouldn't have qualified. I felt like my third year was so overwhelming, it was so intense, and yeah, I had an emotional breakdown in front of my CPF, and me and her were just confused. She was confused, I was just breaking down and crying and all of that stuff. But yeah, I have had an emotional breakdown. Next question is, never have I ever had a long sleep on my break and had to be woken up. This is a funny story. I have had a long sleep on my night shift, and my mentor actually didn't wake me up. So I was asleep for about 6 hours. Yeah, I went to sleep for 6 hours. I remember waking up and it was daylight and the shift was about to finish. And then I was like, why did no one wake me up? Or why didn't my mentor wake me up? So basically I was allocated to a mentor that didn't like working with students. When I started working with her, she was very like standoffish. She didn't want me around. She didn't want to work with me. So she set me on my break and she was like, oh, go to sleep. And she didn't tell me how long. She was like, oh, take as long as you like. So obviously I just slept. But then I woke up and it was like basically the end of the shift. So I was basically asleep for about 6 hours, and she didn't even bother come like find me. She didn't even bother come check for me. She didn't even come wake me up because she doesn't like students. So it was her opportunity to kind of work on her own. But yeah, I have slept longer than I was allocated on a break. I was tired, I was exhausted, and I literally put my head down on that pillow and I literally conked out. And when I woke up, it was at the end of the shift, and then I woke up and I was like to her, oh, why didn't you wake me? I've been asleep this whole time. And she was just like, oh, it's fine. And I was like, it was not fine. My shift is basically over and I haven't done anything. You haven't signed my book and I haven't done this, that. But yeah, she was basically didn't want any students. She didn't like working with students. For her, it was a plus that I literally went and slept for 6 hours, but I was just like very annoyed because it's so unprofessional. Like I left that day thinking that is so bad. Like I should have set my alarm. I should have, yeah. But yeah, that's what happened. Next question is, never have I ever corrected a lecturer or a mentor. I've never corrected a lecturer, but I have questioned a mentor. So as a second, like towards my second year of placement, I was working with a mentor and we were doing a delivery together, and the baby was delivered and it was time to deliver the placenta. So this mentor just gave the woman symptometrum without getting consent, without telling the woman what it was. She literally just took the needle and literally gave the medication to deliver the placenta. And obviously the woman was like, what is that? What are you giving me? And things like that. And then after that, obviously I pulled her aside and I was like, you know, you should have asked for consent. You should have told her what you were giving her, because obviously she felt some type of way. And obviously the client was talking to me after, and she was like, oh, I didn't know what was given to me. Why did she give me that injection and things like that? So yeah, I pulled her aside after the delivery and after delivery the placenta. I didn't want to do it in front of the client, and I literally told her, you know, I think we should have asked her what the injection was for and not just giving it to her without her consent. So at the time I had delivered the baby, and then my mentor was helping me with any other bits that I needed. So she was the one that prepared the symptometrum and got it ready, and then she just gave it to her without asking her. So I pulled her up on that after, and I was like, we should like be asking these women for consent and not just giving them injections for something that they don't want to do. What if she didn't want that injection and she wanted a physiological third stage? What if she didn't want an active third stage? So yeah, that's one thing that I remember that I kind of corrected or pulled my mentor on about. And it's good to do that, but never do it in front of the clients. If you see that there's something wrong or something that a mentor is doing that isn't right, you should voice it, and in a professional manner, of course, and just sit and, you know, ask them about it and see, you know, where you can go with your questions and things like that. Okay, so the last and final question is, never have I ever hated a mentor you was allocated to. I've never ever hated a mentor. All my mentors, apart from the one that let me sleep for 6 hours, all my mentors were amazing. Like, I had the best mentors as a student midwife and I couldn't thank them enough. Never hated a mentor like the last one that made me sleep for 6 hours, but I didn't like working with her. But I didn't have hate in my heart for her. I just didn't like working with her because she didn't teach me anything. She basically shoved me to the side and told me to like do things on my own. So yeah, I just didn't like working with her. I felt the whole situation was very annoying because I felt like I was pestering her. I felt like I was very much in her business and she didn't want students. But I've never actually like hated a mentor, because all my mentors, like, luckily enough, have been amazing while I was a student midwife. So yeah, that is the last question of the Never Have I Ever student midwife edition. So those questions were interesting. I had fun like kind of filming this video. It's not everyday serious stuff, it's not everyday yeah, sometimes fun content, sometimes interesting content. So let me know if you guys would like more content such as this, more challenges and things like that, and I'll definitely do more of these. I hope this video was interesting and I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Give this video a thumbs up if you've had enjoyed it. Comment below if you've done any of the things that I've mentioned, and I'll definitely be seeing you guys in my next video. So until then, bye guys.